Today I'm going to teach you step by step how to make a super stunning Valentine's wreath for your front door. Hey guys, it's Nikki here at Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Don't worry, this is a beginner friendly tutorial. You'll find the full materials list for you below in the description of this video. Of course, you'll also find my Etsy link if you'd rather just purchase today's design. If you're new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. We've got new wreath tutorials uploading every single week. Welcome to Stillwater's Wreath Designs. Come on in. We're going to build today's design on a 15-inch work wreath form. I'm just taking those lower level ties and pointing them outwards, and then we'll take the upper level ties and point them towards the center of the wreath frame. And today we're going to do the poof and double curl method using 10-inch Deco mesh. I'm going to start out with this burlap colored mesh. I'm going to scrunch and gather that mesh, and then I'm going to tuck that tail under to tuck away that raw edge. Then we're going to come to any set of lower level ties and anchor that mesh down, giving those ties a couple of tight twists. We're going to be making approximately 10-inch poofs. What I'm doing here, guys, is just taking that mesh, measuring it out against the second set of ties, which is going to give me about 10 inches. I'll scrunch and gather that mesh in my hand and then place it down into the next set of ties. We're going to do this all the way around the lower level of our wreath frame. Once we get that last lower level poof added into our wreath base, then we're going to jump that mesh to the upper level. All I'm doing is pulling that mesh tautly to the first available set of ties on that upper level and anchoring that mesh down into that set of ties. Then we're going to follow that 10-inch poof method all around the upper level. Once we get that last poof added into our wreath base, I'm going to go ahead and grab my scissors and cut away the excess remaining roll of that Deco mesh. I'm leaving about an inch tail to make sure it stays nice and secure. Okay, let's set our wreath base off to the side and prep our Deco mesh. Here I'm using a rotary cutter and a self-healing mat. If you don't have those items, just grab your scissors. For the two pink rolls of 10-inch Deco mesh, I'm going to cut 9 pieces each at 8 inches in length. We're actually getting our mesh ready to add curls into our wreath base, and there are 18 sets of ties on our wreath base. Next, I've just grabbed a roll of 10-inch solid red window pane Deco mesh, and I'm going to be cutting 18 pieces of the red mesh at 8 inches in length. Okay, let's add our curls in. I've grabbed my wreath base and we're going to add 2 sets of curls to every single set of ties. You will need a clip of some sort. So we're going to grab a piece of Deco mesh, lay that down in our workstation, curl side up, and just roll that piece of mesh into a cylindrical tube. Here I've just secured it with a clip, and then I've grabbed my second piece of mesh, rolled it into a tube, and created an X pattern. I'm going to come into any set of ties on my wreath base, place those curls all the way down to the base of the ties, and give those ties a couple of tight twists. We're going to add 2 curls to every set of ties throughout the entire wreath base. I'm going to be adding red to every single set of ties and then alternate back and forth between the 2 pink color combinations to really give a lot of personality to our wreath. If you'd like to recreate today's design, remember you can find a full materials and supplies list for you below in the description of this video. And if you're enjoying today's tutorial, I'd love for you to give it a thumbs up. It really helps my little channel to grow. Where's everyone watching from today? Okay, we've got all of the curls added into our wreath base, and you guys, look how nice and full those 10-inch Deco mesh curls have made our wreath base. Okay, let's move on to the next step. We're going to be adding some ribbon tails into our wreath, but I wanted to give you a little quick peek of our sign so that you can see how I've coordinated the ribbon with our sign. We'll be using 2 rolls of 2.5-inch wide ribbon and 2 rolls of 1.5-inch wide ribbon. You can use as many combinations as you like, just make sure your ribbon is wired. We'll be adding 2 different ribbon tails to every single set of ties. However, we are going to reserve 2 sets of upper level ties for some bows. So we're going to need 8 cuts of each of the ribbon types. And what I'm doing here, guys, I've measured them out to 12 inches. I'm folding that ribbon accordion style until I've got those 8 pieces. Then I'll take my scissors and cut away that remainder ribbon. And finally, I'm going to take my scissors and in stacks of 2, I'm going to angle trim all of the ends of my ribbon tails. This is just a quick and easy way to get those ribbon tails measured, those ends trimmed, and ready to go for your wreath in just a couple of quick steps. We're going to follow the same process with all 4 ribbon types. Remember, they're going to be 12-inch tails, and you need 8 of each. Okay, now that we have all of our ribbon tails cut and ready to go, we're going to add 2 ribbon tails to every single set of ties on the wreath base, with the exception of 2 on that upper level. And we're just going to layer one on top of the other. Then we're going to fold that ribbon stack in half to identify the center. We'll come to any set of ties on our wreath base and add those tails in. I used my small snips to trim away the excess bit of those ties, and then I'm fluffing out those ribbon tails. I like to alternate back and forth between the 2 ribbon pairings just to give some extra personality to the wreath. So go ahead and add all of your ribbon tails to those ties, trim away the ends, and then I'll meet you back here. Just a quick note, when you're adding those ribbon tails to the upper level of your wreath, guys, remember we're going to reserve 2 sets of ties for the bows. And so you're basically going to add your ribbon tails into 3 neighboring sets of ties, and then you're going to skip a set of ties so that you've got 2 catty corner set of ties available for the bows. Okay, the next step is to add our sign into our wreath. This is a metal sign, guys, and so I'm just using a jewelry hole punch to make some pretty small holes on the sides. I'll leave a link for my favorite pair below. And then I'm going to grab some 20 gauge floral wire stems to anchor the sign down into the wreath. Go ahead and fold that floral wire stem in half just to identify the center, and run that floral wire stem right through the little holes that we just made on the sign. Then I'm going to give it a couple of twists on the back side just to keep those stems from sliding around. I'll repeat the same thing on the opposite side. Now we can go ahead and add that sign right into the wreath. Just take those floral wire stems and poke them directly through the mesh. Then we'll flip the wreath around to the back side and tighten those floral wire stems. Just make sure you've got those stems going around at least 2 of the 3 crossbars on the back of the wreath, and give them 3 or 4 twists at about 80% tension. Perfect. Now the sign is nice and secure. Next up, we're going to make 2 identical bows for those 2 sets of reserve ties on the upper level of our wreath. I'm going to use both of the 1.5-inch wide ribbons along with this super cute Swiss polka dot. You'll want to have your scissors handy, and also grab a standard length pipe cleaner. I'm going to fold that in half to identify the center and cut that in half. Then fold each of those halves into a V. That's what we'll use to secure our bow. So for each of the ribbon types, we're going to make a 7-inch tail and 2 3-inch loops. We're going to layer them one on top of the other, and we'll use that Swiss polka dot last and make those tails a little bit longer so that we can curl them. Once you're done assembling your bow, go ahead and take that pipe cleaner half and wrap that right around the center of your bow. Then you can trim off the excess bits of those pipe cleaners and come into those ties on your wreath and anchor that bow down in. Then take your snips and trim away the excess bit of ties. Grab your scissors and angle trim all the ends of those ribbon tails. Then we're going to repeat the same process, making a bow and adding it to the upper left corner. Now that both of those bows are added, I'm just running my fingers over the tails to give them a nice bump. And for those Swiss polka dot tails, I'm giving them a quick curl. Next, I've just grabbed a couple of foam glitter hearts from the Dollar Tree. I'm adding some hot glue to the back and pressing those down into the center of my bows. Super cute. And that is all there is to it. What do you think?